we're looking for another reason to be safe with online dating apps, especially during hot girl summer, this is your sign. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, it was sent to me on Instagram. A couple of months ago, I met this guy on a dating app. He wasn't my usual type, but I decided to give him a chance because he looked so sweet in all of his pictures. He even had this one picture of him and a little girl, and it really showed his soft side. And let's be honest, after swiping through pictures for literally hours, it was nice to see a guy that didn't look like a total douche. I swiped right on him, we ended up matching, and after we started talking, we decided to meet up. The only problem was he didn't live where I did, he actually lived about 4 hours away. But he told me that he would be working for a company in my city all summer. The only time he would actually be out of town was over the weekends. This worked out great for me, so we decided to meet up as soon as he came into town. He explained that he would be staying at a friend's apartment, so that's where I ended up meeting him at. And our first little hangout went absolutely great. We watched a movie on the couch, and then he took me to get some food. We did this almost every single day for about 3 weeks. It was pretty clear to me that he wasn't talking to anyone else because if he wasn't at work, I was at the apartment with him. But things started to seem a little bit sketchy whenever he would go back home on the weekends. My initial thought was that he was seeing someone in his hometown and then seeing me when he came to work. Basically, it was like as soon as he got to his hometown, he would take hours to answer. And I completely understand that, but I mean like 5 or 6 hours, while he was posting on a Snapchat story. Since we had been seeing each other pretty regularly for almost a month, I just decided to ask him what was up. That's when he sends me a picture of him with the same little girl from his Tinder profile. I immediately felt like a bitch because I was like, oh, he's just there with his family, of course. So I tried to play it off and I was like, oh, she's so cute, what's her name? He told me her name. Then he asked me if I wanted to see his room. He sends me a Snapchat video of his room and right next to his bed was the little girl's bed. Then he says, I'm glad you thought she was cute, this is actually my kid, she's 2 years old. He starts telling me all sorts of stories about her growing up, and what it was like to be a single dad while working out of town, how his parents usually watch her during the week and that's why he absolutely has to go back home over the weekend. And since I didn't want to seem like a total bitch, I just played along with it. But I was starting to really freak out because my choices now were break it off with him or become a stepmom. Then he didn't answer my text messages for about another 2 hours. But when he decided to answer it, he was like, oh, I'm just kidding, it's a joke, I play it on all the girls that I talk to see how they'll react. Don't worry though, you passed the test, this is actually my niece. After that, I pretty much decided to stop talking to him because that is a really weird trick to play on someone. But moral of the story is, stay safe out there during hot girl summer.
Freshman year of high school, I walk in, sit down next to this girl in a wheelchair. Now this girl, probably the smartest girl in class, and she knew it. And for some reason, she just had to be a douchebag about it. So I pull out my chemistry homework and I get stuck on literally the first question. I'm bad with numbers, don't judge me. And I ask her for help. I'm like, hey, do you mind? And she completely ignores me. So I ask her again, I'm like, hey, please, do you mind helping me? So she reluctantly agrees and after goes, this is the easiest thing I've done all day. Now, you know me, I have a bit of an ego. I was kind of pissed at that. A couple minutes later, the intercom comes on, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And so we all stand up, except for her. So after taking a second, I look over, I lean down and I go, hey, this is the easiest thing I've done all day.
This just might be the craziest spring break story you've ever heard. Me and 14 of my friends decided to go to Cabo for spring break when we were in college. We rented an Airbnb and thought everything was going to be so much fun. But on the first night, there was already a couple of my friends that were too tired to go out, so we just decided to split up. Half of my friends stayed at the house and half of us went out to a bar. The bar we ended up going to was right on the water, and as we're sitting there eating our food, a yacht pulls up. And I don't mean like a small yacht, I mean like a huge party yacht. There was little dinghy boats bringing people to and from the yacht. My friend that spoke Spanish went over and started talking to one of the boat taxi drivers. He said that if we wanted to, we could all jump on his boat and he would take us out to the yacht. Since it was spring break, of course I couldn't pass up on this opportunity, so I started running towards his boat to jump on because he was screaming for us to hurry. I was in such a hurry to make sure that I got on that boat, I didn't even look back to see if my friends were behind me. By the time that I realized none of my friends had come with me, I was already halfway to the yacht. Since I was already halfway to the yacht and I didn't speak any Spanish, I just decided to wait it out, get on the yacht, and make some friends when I get there. Luckily, there was plenty of other students there on spring break, so I made plenty of friends. I ended up just staying on the boat all night because the taxi stopped running, but as soon as I could get off in the morning, I went ahead and got off. I called a taxi to drive me back to the Airbnb, but whenever we pulled up to the gates of the neighborhood, there was security and police everywhere. My taxi driver kept driving and dropped me off at the front door, but when we pulled up to the Airbnb, it was literally surrounded by police. That's when I realized that this had to have something to do with me and my friends, and it wasn't just the area we were in. When I saw my friends, I ran up to them and asked them what was going on. It turned out that one of my friends who had stayed at the house ended up falling down the stairs in the middle of the night, breaking the banister and one of the paintings on the wall, and had to be rushed to the ER because he split his head open. The property manager had called the police to make sure that we paid for the damages to the house. The weird part is that they wanted it in cash and said we weren't leaving until we paid. My friend that spoke Spanish was the only one that was able to actually talk to the police. They told her that if we didn't pay for the damages to the house in cash, we weren't leaving the property. We had the money to pay for it, but not in cash because they were wanting over $2,000. We were all freaking out thinking that we were going to be held hostage here in Cabo forever. We all called our parents, who then contacted the U.S. Embassy, and before we knew it, our faces were all over the news with the headlines, 15 American college students held against their will in Cabo. At the moment, there was nothing we could do, so we just decided to go back in the house and sit down and wait. I guess the property manager had also ended up calling a maid service to help clean up the damage done inside the house. Whenever the maids got there, we explained to them what was going on and that we were absolutely terrified. Luckily, they had already seen the news, and so they were willing to help us. They moved all their cleaning supplies into the house and backed their van into the garage. They explained to my friend that if we all got in the van, they would drive us to a nearby hotel where we could stay the rest of the trip. The police were guarding the front door, but we all snuck around them and ended up getting out. We did have to stay in a gross hotel for about a week, though.
Stop right now, you have to watch this movie. One day I was scrolling through Netflix trying to find a movie to watch, which is why I'm here to help you not do that, and Murder Mystery came across my page, and it's so funny. So Audrey and Nick are married, and Audrey's always wanted to go to Europe, but they can't really afford it. So one day they're on a plane and they meet this guy named Charles Cavendish, who invites them on his yacht, where they will be celebrating Charles's elderly uncle's upcoming wedding to Charles's ex-fiancée. On the yacht, in front of his entire family, Audrey and Nick, his uncle announces that he will be leaving all of his money to his new wife. Right then, he pulls out his will and is about to sign all of his money away to his new wife when the lights go out. Then they come back on and he's dead, of course. So they're all stuck on a boat together trying to find out who murdered this man. Nick and Audrey just met everybody and now they're being framed for this billionaire's murder. Everyone's trying to figure out who did it. It's so funny. And it's plot twist after plot twist. I highly suggest you go watch it if you want to. It's on Netflix.
When I was in college, I was seeing this guy whose parents were pretty well off. And what I mean by that is that they paid for his entire rent, his gas, and his groceries, and they even hired him a maid. After we had been seeing each other for a couple months, I decided to go over to his apartment really early in the morning and surprise him with breakfast. When I got there was a car that I didn't recognize, but there was a girly sticker on the back that said that that person also went to our university. When I walked into his apartment, I saw her standing there. I asked who she was and what she was doing in my boyfriend's apartment, and then she held up a bucket of cleaning supplies, and I immediately felt like the biggest bitch ever. But a couple weeks later, I showed up at his apartment again, unannounced, and I saw the maid's car there. Except for this time, it was late afternoon, and I was confused why she would be there because she always comes in the morning. I walked into his apartment and I didn't see either of them anywhere, but I could hear something coming from the bedroom. I opened the door to my boyfriend's bedroom and saw the maid sitting on top of him, fully undressed, and there he was, participating. We broke up after that.